Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe. Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Grammarly Premium. Get a 1-month free trial of Grammarly Premium. I use Grammarly Premium to edit any documentation that I need to write. And Grammarly helps with any punctuation and grammar as well. Also, thank you to vidIQ for sponsoring today's show. If you want to get monetized on YouTube, get those subscribers, get one of those YouTube awards, click on the link to vidIQ to find out more. And thank you to Amazon Music Unlimited for sponsoring today's show. Just visit my website in the links in the description to get Amazon Music Unlimited. Welcome to the Stephen Shiels radio show. Today I've got Glenn Harrold. How are you, Glenn?
I'm all good, thank you, Stephen.
What have you been working on so far on Insight Timer?
On Insight Timer, I've been... Actually, the thing that is most current is I'm doing webinars there every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really good because I've noticed over the weeks it's been growing. I do a live meditation towards the end of that. And it's been good. I've noticed the numbers. I think I had 600 last week on that was live.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a little live meditation with my setup here, and it's been getting really good response. So there's been that. I've been released a couple of new titles over the last couple of months called Awaken and Ascend and Letting Go of Fear,
mm-hmm.
which is really one for today, as so many people are feeling fear and anxiety at the moment. So that's a title for this moment.
Yeah, many of the great entrepreneurs have fear as well, and it's a very scary feeling because we think, should we do it or shouldn't we do it? Have you had strategies to overcome fear? Yeah,
I think, there's so much of it around at the moment, isn't it? And that's a good point you make there, because even people who are very successful still have fears and anxieties and worries about the future. But I think the difference is that they don't let those fears and worries stop them going forward, taking chances. That's the thing. Most entrepreneurs are risk takers. And, if you take that to the extreme, you look at somebody like Richard Branson, who's a billionaire. Every company that he built, he then gambled the whole company on the next one, from his record company to the train company to the airline. And, so he was a huge risk taker, way beyond what most people would gamble, but paid off for him. Well, I don't know what it's like now. The airline business is probably not too good, but yeah, it's that spirit though, that entrepreneurial spirit. You've got to be brave. And for me, when I got onto that path and started to work on myself, I did a solo parachute jump. And I did a number of firewalks where I walked across burning coals. I did about 5 of those. So I kind of put myself out of my comfort zone and, felt the fear, felt the anxiety, but I did it anyway. It's that book, isn't it? Feel the fear and do it anyway. So that, in doing that, it gave me the confidence in everyday life to take chances in business and, to take more risks. And, if you jump out of an aeroplane from 3,000 feet, you feel like you can do anything after that.
Yeah, look, Richard Branson, at one time, he borrowed all this money from the bank, and the bank was going to, start taking things from him. It's very scary to be in that situation too,
Yeah.
Have you, like yourself, have you had to deal with financial pressure?
These days I'm very fortunate in that I don't. I'm very blessed where I'm at now. But when I was young, yes, certainly. I lived in, a tower block in South London, and I was on the top floor, and it was. When I look back, it was horrible. It was. You got in the lifts and they smelled of urine, and you got to the top floor, and we were on the top floor, and the kids used to set the bins on fire at the bottom, and it was horrible being in that position and not having any opportunities to get out of it at the time. I had quite a low self-worth. I was driving a mini cab around the West End at the time, so I was really struggling. But living in that situation just gave me an absolute fire and determination to change my circumstances. I hated living like that, and I was desperate to change. So that really, I used that motivation to start, reading books on abundance and changing my mindset about abundance. And over time, things changed. At that time, I started to use the law of attraction. And even when I was living in that council flat, I visualised myself driving an Aston Martin. And I'd imagine my hands on the steering wheel and the roar of the engine and driving this car. And it was within 10 years I actually bought an Aston Martin. And I remembered all the affirmations and visualizations I'd done previously to get me to that point. And I know without doing that work, I never would have had that success. So it's so important to really program your mind positively and to think and believe that you're abundant.
Yeah, look, it's law of attraction is something I've been studying myself. I think Einstein quoted it at one time. Has it been a slow process for you?
I think once I got onto that path, probably 25 odd years ago, I really believed in it. That was the key for me. I studied the law of attraction, and I realised that if I applied myself, it would happen. It's an energetic frequency that you're tuning into. That if you change your own state and align yourself with that frequency, things happen. Things will come into your life. Opportunities come along, and I started to see that small little steps at first. It wasn't, I didn't suddenly, change my life overnight, but it was a gradual process, and those little successes got bigger and bigger, and I'm still kind of riding that wave now. So yeah, it's an amazing journey when you align yourself with that frequency.
So was it a daily practice for you, Glenn? Was it every day you just wanted to do it?
Yeah, like I said, I was absolutely hated where I lived and my life at the time. Lack of opportunity and being broke all the time. And so when I was driving my mini cab, when I didn't have a fare, I'd be reading a law of attraction book, or one of my favourite books back then was called The Trick to Money is Having Some by Stuart Wilde. And he used sort of the wisdom from the Tao and Eastern philosophy to and brought it into sort of layman's terms in this book, and kind of taught me that money is just an energy, and if you align yourself with that energetic frequency, you'll come into your life. Opportunities will come in. So in between fares, I was doing that. I was when I was doing my delivery jobs in the daytime, I'd be turn the radio on. If I'd be doing abundance affirmations and mantras, I'd spend an hour each night in self-hypnosis, visualizing being abundant and having money and success. And I immersed myself in it, and I did that for a good few years. And things started to change. My external world responded to the frequency that I was emitting, and life started to change. It started to become more prosperous and abundant. Opportunities came along for the first time. I met the right people at the right time. It was quite amazing.
So it's something you just can't explain. It just happened for you.
It was the work I did on myself that changed it. So to give you an example of that, when I was in a therapy session back then, I regressed back to when I was 5 years of age, and I saw my mum and dad having a blazing row and screaming at each other, and my dad ripped up some money and threw it at my mum. And I'd forgotten about this, but under hypnosis, it came back to me. And I understood it now from an adult perspective. At 5 years of age, when I was seeing that, I was just seeing that money's a dangerous thing. It causes these horrible rows. So, but as an adult, I could revisit that memory and change the feelings, change the emotions, and understand it from an adult perspective. And so I cleared that away. And I did that with a number of sort of failure programs that I had in my unconscious mind. And that was a big part of the work as well, because if you just do the abundance work and you don't do that clearing work, you can take a few steps forward and then you fall back again, or you sabotage things because you're in your unconscious mind, you think I'm not worthy of money, or it's not a good thing. And so that was an important part of the work. And it's when you do it and you're determined enough, you've got to have determination. And I was, like I said, I did the parachute jump at the time and that kind of stuff, so I developed a lot of courage, and I started to get a bit braver, pushing myself out into situations in business that would have been uncomfortable before, but I just had that little bit of courage, and the whole thing worked. It worked.
No, it's amazing what you've done, and your work's actually really good to listen to as well.
Thank you.
I came across your stuff when I was in my undergraduate degree on Spotify, and I decided to listen to it, and it helped a lot.
Fantastic. Which titles did you listen to?
There was one on passing your exams. There was one on overcoming fear of flying too, and then you had you've done some on chakra work.
Yeah.
You've got an app too, I've got that. And the solfeggio scale, which is really interesting. And in your apps, you've got some ebooks that you've done as well. How'd you come up with the idea to put ebooks in an app? Because that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which ones we've got in there, but over the years, I've written 7 books, and sometimes the ebooks are condensed versions of the published books that I've got out there. And, so for the weight loss recording, for example, I've got an ebook in there that, gives you 7 main steps to help you lose weight. And so you've got the ebook and you've got the recording to sort of work together. So that was kind of the idea behind that, having those ebooks in the apps.
And are you someone who's a fan of putting your work on Spotify, or do you prefer to have it on your own official app as well?
No, I've always been of the mindset to put the recordings on as many different platforms as possible, to get the recordings as far and wide out there. And because I think that way you reach, I'm through Spotify, I get a lot of younger people, like yourself, and who contact me, and they've listened to my work through Spotify. Whereas if it wasn't on that platform, they probably wouldn't have come across it. It's not. So that's been a good thing. Even my wife Nicola, she actually first listened to my recording on a shareware download site. It was a free download, so my recordings were being pirated on this site, and she listened to them for years before she knew me. And so even that, I don't even really mind the pirating side of it. It's kind of a byproduct of the success. If you're selling millions of recordings, they're going to end up on pirate sites as well. But for me, if people haven't got any money and they need to go on those sites, then maybe the recordings will help them, and later on they might buy one later. So I'm not hanging on to the sales of every little sale. Do you know what I mean? It's just not worth it. It's just nice to put them out there, and they're helping so many people. And the good sites cover the costs and everything, and for the pirated sites.
They don't. They don't cover.
Sorry?
Yeah, they don't cover the costs, the pirated sites.
Oh, no, they don't. Not on their own, but what I mean is like the Apple sales and the Google sales through the apps cover the costs of being pirated on those sites, you know. And Spotify traditionally are known for not paying a very good royalty, and, you know, that's kind of true. But we found, you know, what we had to do with a long recording, we had to splice it up into short sections to get the best royalty from Spotify. So there was always ways around you know, their royalty rates and their structure. We had to adapt the recordings for their platform.
Yeah, I've noticed it on Spotify. You got, I think you got part 1, part 2 on some of your longer stuff too, whereas on the app people can listen to it and loop it around and around, which is pretty cool as well.
Yeah. I think on Spotify you still get to hear it. You don't. If you look at it, you see part 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But they flow into each track seamlessly, so there's no. But yeah, do that for that platform.
Yeah, and what type of books have you read and studied as an entrepreneur yourself?
I always read books that taught me things about abundance and the law of attraction. So, like The Trick to Money is having some. I liked the Eckhart Tolle books, The Power of Now, which weren't necessarily about abundance, but they kind of helped with that journey because they taught you about being present and being in the moment. And, you know, not worrying about the future or stressing about the past, letting that hold you back. So that was a really powerful book for that. It's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And, you know, still today I love inspirational biographies, you know, and particularly I like biographies where people have really struggled in their early life and overcome those obstacles and hurdles and become successful. Yes, my journey, something I've done. So I get inspiration reading other people who've gone through the same thing.
Yeah, I've read Think and Grow Rich twice by Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a book you could keep reading for the rest of your life, Glenn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was it was written a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when it was first published?
It would have been could have been the 30s.
How long ago? Wow.
Before me and you were born. So,
yeah.
You know.
Amazing, really. It's yeah, but it shows you that universal wisdom and knowledge has always been around. It's always been there. And you look, The Secret. Do you remember when The Secret came out, the DVD? A few years ago, it kind of got the masses into the law of attraction. It was so well put together, and it just hit the right moment in time. And everyone was talking about this DVD, The Secret, and the book came out. And when you look at it, it was very well put together, but it was nothing new at all. You know, it was a lot of it was based on Napoleon Hill's book and, you know, some ancient teachings about the law of attraction that have been there since time began. But it seems the law of attraction, every so often it comes into favour, it comes back into fashion. But, you know, I use it all the time, I still do. You know, attract things, so it's something that's always there for all of us.
Yeah, it's. I think it's important to keep practicing every day. You know, so it becomes second nature for you and everyone who's practicing the law of attraction. There was a book written by, I think it was James Allen or something, As a Man Thinketh, a long time ago, and it's just amazing about. I think if you, as an entrepreneur, I think if you love what you do and you have a vision, I think you'll go a long way.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to find a career that you love. And I think that for most people is the thing they often struggle with, in my experience, because, you know, if you think you go through the school system and you may go to university, you come out the other side and, you know, you go into a career that, you know, sometimes it's not necessarily your chosen career, but or it turns out to become a job that you're not totally in love with. Some people do find it. They do come out and find it straight away. But in my experience, the majority don't. And then they get into the trap of having a mortgage where they need the job to pay the bills, and they get married, have kids, and they don't have time to then look for what they really want to do and find their true vocation. And for me, I was always lucky because I kind of, I hustled a little bit when I was young. I was driving a mini cab. I was playing my guitar in clubs and bars. So I did have time in the day to be able to, find what it was I really wanted to do. And for a long time, I thought I just wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a songwriter. But, I just never really got the breaks. Had a little bit of success for a brief time, but never really happened, and struggled with that. But then as soon as I decided I was going to become a hypnotherapist, it was amazing how the doors opened, how things, the path opened up. And things, I worked at it and I loved it, and I've been so lucky in that career. But I think it was because I found what I was supposed to be doing in this life. I think a lot of people make those choices for financial reasons. They choose a job based purely on, how secure it's going to make them, and they're going to. So, I think the key is to be brave with that, and if you are an artistic in any way, then go for that. Break out of what you're doing and push yourself into what you're supposed to be doing. And even if you're not sure exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing, meditation can help you. So go into the meditative state and connect with your creativity. Remember what you were good at as a kid, your natural talents, and then think about the direction that you want to go in. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Well, see, what I was taught in school, Glenn, was to, go to university, become a doctor, lawyer, get a really high-paying job, because that was, and then get a mortgage. Yeah. Yet not taught to become an entrepreneur.
No, schools don't teach that at all, do they?
No.
They don't. It's one of the most important things we need in life is to learn how to deal with finances, how to invest. Investing is such an important thing, and yes, my kids are only young, but I'm teaching them already. Getting that into their mind. I did a number of years ago. Their grandparents gave me £400 to invest in premium bonds, and now if I put that money in premium bonds and kept it, that 400, by the time they were 18, it will probably be worth 100. The equivalent, because of fiat currency devalues. But I didn't. I put it into Bitcoin at the time, and that 400 now is worth about 8,000. And by the time those kids are 18, they'll probably be able to buy a house with it, the way things are going. So, and I show them. I say, you've got a little bit of that Bitcoin, and already they're understanding the concept of investing and growth and that kind of thing. And you're so right, that's not taught at school. And you think, well, why not? Why are kids not taught about these things? I'm not talking about necessarily, but just investing and, being entrepreneurial and taking chances. But the school system seems to be designed to make you come out the other end to, follow rules and regulations and traditional jobs. And all right, you need a certain percentage of the population who do those jobs, but for those who've got that creative entrepreneurial flair, the school system doesn't cater for those kind of kids. So I was one of those. I was terrible. I got kicked out of school when I was 15. I just didn't fit in at all, and I just thought I was stupid. I thought I was bad. I thought I was trouble. I never realised until later I just didn't fit into the system. It wasn't that I was a bad kid. It was different, and the school, didn't fit in.
Did you ever go to university when you were younger? Or no?
No, I never. I left school just as I turned 15, and I never did any examination or qualification after that. The only thing I did was when I got to my late 30s and I did my hypnotherapy training.
Yeah.
And for me, even that, sitting in a classroom and doing examinations was a massive stress to me, because my only association with that was being in school and all those negative experiences. So I had to do a lot of work on myself to get over those anxiety issues around being in a class. Even though it was a very positive setting and I wanted to be there, I still had anxiety around it because that was my conditioning. So I had to work on that and get over that.
Were you studying it at a academic level or a basic level hypnotherapy?
It was quite academic. It was basic to start with, but then as the course went on, it was much more academic, and I did struggle a little bit with that, the academic side, because I'd not done a lot of that in my schooling. And we had doctors and psychologists that would come in and interview us at certain times. It was quite a comprehensive course back then, and it was. We learned about physiology and psychosomatic illness and that kind of thing. It was a clinical hypnotherapy diploma, I should say. Clinical therapy. So it was quite in depth. Yeah. No,
that's really good that you've done something and achieved that as well. Because I did a university degree in classical music, but yet I wasn't prepared to go out in the real world, because only a degree takes you so far, Glenn. Doesn't prepare you for the world. Did you ever want to go and do a degree, or were you happy where you've currently finished?
I would have loved to have learned more when I was younger, but I suppose because I struggled with the school system, I didn't have any, all I did was rebel. It brought out the rebel in me, and I just fought against it. So I kind of blocked out any kind of learning. I thought I'll be all right, sort of Jack the Lad attitude, and I thought I'd be okay, but I wasn't. I fell down flat on my feet when I got into my adult life, and it was only years later when I did the hypnotherapy course and started to change my life that things turned that corner. But I would have loved to have learned a language when I was younger. I live in Portugal now, and I'm slowly picking up the language. I lived in Spain for a few years, and I got reasonably good with Spanish. But looking back, I'd have loved to have mastered the art of an instrument. I mean, I can play guitar, I can pick out chords on the keyboard, but more Eric clapped out than Eric Clapton.
It's amazing.
So what did you play, Stephen?
I played the clarinet.
Ah, nice.
And I'm a composer as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Of your own music?
Yes.
Ah, wonderful.
But it's amazing how, you were saying you were living in an apartment in Southampton, and you were able to go and move into another house by the sounds of it.
So no, I lived in South London.
Yeah, sorry.
And that was just a rough and ready time. But I always aspired to having a bigger house and living in my own house, I should say. And slowly I did. I bought up, and I ended up in a massive house with a Aston Martin outside, and it was quite a magical journey to get there. Sometimes I'd be sitting in the house thinking, wow, I think, that was... But when you're on the journey, you don't always... you're just getting your head down and working, and success builds, and suddenly you end up in this big mansion with an Aston Martin, and it feels... You think, well, how did I get here? What did I do, But it was a lot of graft, hard work, and a lot of belief, and the law of attraction massively.
Yeah, because in The Secret, Bob Proctor appeared in that, and it was saying that if you're thinking about debt too much, you're gonna attract more debt. But now we live in what's called the debt society. Yeah, that's what we're living in now, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all by design. I really do. Like we talked about earlier, why don't they teach kids to be entrepreneurial and to, think for themselves and create their own opportunities? And you go to university in the UK, you do a 3-year university degree course and you can be, hugely in debt. 27,000, I think it's 9,000 a year, so 27,000 pounds in debt. Well, right, they say if you don't make it in your career, you don't have to pay it back. But if you do make it, you have to pay it back. So that to me is criminal that they're, educating kids to a degree, but for this degree course, but then they're massively in debt, and debt is a trap. I've been in debt in my 20s. I was in huge amount of debt, and county court judgments against me. I just couldn't cope. I was trying to better my life, but my spending was more than my income, and I got into a real mess back then. And I vowed after that time, I would never ever borrow money again, and I never did. Other than a mortgage along the way, that was the only debt, and even then they were very small. I just found that I'd never, because I was when I was in debt, I was in this trap, and you feel like the walls are closing in. It's horrible, but in this society, you're almost encouraged to get in debt. Young kids are given cards, and they can rack up 10 grand on the cards without virtually any, income coming in. Income to pay it off, or so that is just a trap, isn't it? And you get caught in the trap, and it's so hard to get out of it. So, I've always been of the mindset that the first part of becoming abundant is to clear all debt, to get out of debt and live very frugally if you have to, live very basically. I did that for a number of years, where I just, would be, put on a jumper and sit in the lounge rather than have the heating on, all that kind of stuff. And you have to do that. When you haven't got money, you have to make those sacrifices and, shop at markets, get healthy food still. You can still buy healthy food, but maybe go to the market instead of the supermarket. And all that, I went through all that. And slowly, as I got my debt down, I got control of my money. I learned the value of money through being in debt. From there I was able to build. And when I did start making money, I still kind of was in that mindset of living simply. So, I didn't start rushing out and buying expensive things. I always, like the Aston Martin, I bought that for cash. The villa in Florida I bought for cash. Everything I bought was when I could actually afford it. I could have bought, instead of buying the Aston, I could have bought a Ferrari instead, but then been 100 grand in debt to get that. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people fall into that trap because they want more. They get on that material treadmill. They want the bigger and better things without actually having the money to be able to pay for it. So they fall into debt, and then times change, and they get trapped by it.
Yeah, no, but that's how we live. I just think don't let the banks talk into taking the credit card.
No, not at all. That's, when you see their lovely, warm, cosy adverts they put out, like they care about their customers. Banks are pretty ruthless when it comes down to it. When you actually look at their business model and fractional reserve banking and all that kind of stuff, it's you've got to be aware and conscious of what's going on, what's going on behind the scenes, and often the way we're being manipulated. So free yourself from debt, work on abundance, educate yourself through self-help books and inspirational books, and step outside of that system as much as you can, and work on living an abundant, happy life outside of that system, because the system's not there for our good.
No, it's not. But Glenn, no, I think your work is good. It spreads a positive message. I think it's helped a lot of people. It's helped me as well. Do you plan on publishing any more of your apps or anything to Spotify?
Yeah, certainly. I've got. I'm working on a range of children's titles at the moment, and we're just at the scripting point, and I'm putting the scripts together, and we want to work on these recordings to make them, for children to feel really happy and empowered again. So these recordings are for kids between sort of 6 and 12, so the language is very appropriate for that age, but they're still using the kind of hypnotherapy and meditation techniques I've I've used in my adult recordings.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just age appropriate, because if kids can get that feeling that they're happy inside and they feel good in themselves, they feel confident, they can achieve things, that stays with them. And if you can get that into a child at a young age, it's powerful stuff. My oldest son's 33 now, and I became a hypnotherapist when he was about 6 or 7. And anytime he had an exam or a challenging situation, I'd use a child-friendly hypnotic technique to help him overcome any fears, anxieties, worries, and to feel confident. And now at 33, he's actually become a hypnotherapist himself, and he's getting amazing results. He really is. Everyone that wants to see me, I pass them on to Lee, and he's getting fantastic results. He really is, because he's just got all that history of hypnosis and therapy, and he's done a lot of work on himself as well over the years. He's really walking his talk, and it's great to see him. So that's an example of how you can, get kids really primed for a happy, abundant, successful life.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. I think if you think poor, like there's a saying that Tony Robbins said, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer as well. Yeah.
And there's two ways of looking at that. That's because the system supports rich people. It said that the richest people in the world have got 30% richer since the pandemic started last March, whereas the poorest people in the world have got poorer. So there's that side of things, but the other side, probably what Anthony Robbins is focusing on, is the fact that when you get that abundance mindset, it's with you, it stays with you, and you expect to be abundant, you expect opportunities to come along, and they do. So that's the sort of metaphysical side of it, that when you've got that outlook and that belief system, it works, and it does. Success comes easily.
Yeah, look, Glenn, it was really good having you back on the show today.
You're welcome, Stephen. Hopefully this recording of the last one, the pitch shifted down. When I listened to it, it was something to do at my end. It was a glitch at my end, but my voice was like a semitone lower, and I sounded a little bit like a Dalek.
I want to ask one more thing. How did you come across Insight Timer?
How do I come across it?
Yeah.
Well, it's an app. You can download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store, and it's also a website. On that site, they've literally got thousands and thousands of authors on there. Some very famous names like Russell Brand, and I think the Dalai Lama's on there even. And so it's got loads and loads of authors. There's tens of thousands of meditations on there. I've got, how many have I got on there? Probably about 10 recordings on there. And I've actually got 2 in the top 20, so I'm really pleased with that. Out of 10,000 recordings, I've got 2 recordings in the top 20, which is quite amazing. And so, the nice thing about that app is that you can find authors that really fit your needs and recordings that suit your needs. There's a wide variety of choice. And they're a really nice app as well. They treat their authors really well. So I'm always happy to talk Insight Timer up.
Do you plan to publish some more works on Insight Timer?
Yeah, we'll do over time. We've got 10 recordings there. And I don't want to flood it, but yeah, we'll probably add, another 6 or so over the next couple of years. And I do the webinars every Wednesday. I do a webinar on there at 4 p.m. London time. And yeah, that's growing. The popularity that is growing. 600 last week, and it's good. I do a little meditation, a live meditation on that. That's really popular. So that's good. So 4 o'clock Wednesday on Insight Timer.
That's really good, Glenn. Always looking forward to your work as well and hearing what you're coming out with. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast with Glenn Harrold. Thank you to the sponsors Grammarly Premium, vidIQ, Amazon Music Unlimited. Also, turn on those notifications, subscribe to the podcast so you can get notified of new episodes as well. Also, you can visit my YouTube channel and check out my work on Spotify, links in the description.
Spark innovation across your federal agency with IT hardware, software, and services from Connection Public Sector Solutions. Your technology procurement challenges will meet their match as Connection's dedicated account managers offer exceptional customer service, and our extensive list of supported federal contracts means you'll always get a price that works for your budget. Learn more about innovation for your agency with Connection Public Sector Solutions at connection.com/fedcontracts.
Hike the trail? Check. Order takeout? Check. Schedule heart checkup? Done. We've all adapted to a new way of living. Keep your healthcare on schedule with Johns Hopkins Medicine, where your health and safety are our highest priorities. We're ready to care for you through virtual and in-person visits across Maryland and the greater Washington region. Your health, our experts, safely caring for you. Schedule your care now. Learn more at hopkinsmedicine.org/safe.